Welcome back to another quick time-lapse video of me placing some stamps for my capital city here of Eirshor. And I thought in this session I would try and work on this area up here where there will be some temples, and then also maybe where some of the nobles live. And the temples I have here, and you can see here I'm just checking my notes. These are all the lists of the different temples that I might use, and I was just double checking, what were these temples supposed to be for? I forgot. So one of these is the Hall of Justice. This one kind of had a little H on it, so I thought maybe that would be a good one for the Hall of Justice. Putting some roads in here so I can get an idea of what the layout of this region will look like. You notice I've got that one big church there, which is the Cathedral of Freedom, which is one of the most important gods in this region, in the culture in this region. These are the political buildings, or this is the Temple of Freedom over here. And this is the Court of Wayun. This is the Dome of Lejar. These are all just different temples, and I decided that these temples are all kind of dedicated to more political or noble gods of nobility. And so I thought these temples would be arranged in the more wealthier part of town, probably frequented more by the nobles than by the common folk. And I thought this temple would look cool if it had a little bit more of a campus layout like I did with the one below. And I'm just trying to be delicate with my brush tool here to lay out some walkways. I switched to the brown and made it a little smaller to make those simple paths. And I wasn't 100% happy with all of what came out of that brushwork. I think I might want to use a few more stamps as well to maybe lay out, trees and maybe some other decorations. I thought it might be worthwhile to outline my road here with a little bit of this brown, dusty feel. I kind of like how it looks, but again, this is one of the things that I keep zooming out to check to see, does that really look good? Filling in a little bit more of the pathway. I really wasn't 100% on what I was going to do with the pathway to the right here. And so I've kind of just left the detailing alone there. And that's when I kind of realized, well, I don't really know what the rest of this layout is intending to look like. And my original idea is that I wanted there to be two waterfalls, a sort of a double layer waterfall. And I thought that maybe the next step I should do is basically build up what that next layer of the waterfall would look like. So now you see me, I traced out with the subtraction tool another pool, because waterfalls usually land in pools, and then I started grabbing some more cliffs to try and make another array of cliffs that might look well. So again, same strategy as before, just grabbing stamps, trying to get them to line up. My goal here was to try and get the two cliffs that I had made, the lower level cliffs and the higher level cliffs, to maybe line up to make an even bigger cliff. And that's what I'm trying to do here, is say what would look like cliffs over cliffs would be kind of cool. I couldn't get necessarily a layering that I liked, but here I'm working on the waterfall over here, thought about what the right hand side would look like. And then I started thinking about what the natural evolution of this city actually was about, which this keep on the left-hand side is meant to defend against the more warring nation of the north, Edan. And I thought, well, if Edan was regularly warring on Eirshor here, they would probably come up on these higher cliffs and set up their siege machinery and just, launch rocks and ballistae and stuff down onto the city below. And I thought, well, that doesn't make sense. If they could have such an easy place to attack the city from, the city would probably fall. And that made me think, well, what's a good explanation for this? And I couldn't come up with one. So I said, well, there can't be a higher level cliff then. This has to be the highest level cliff. And I gave up. I said, fine, get rid of those higher level cliffs. And that makes a little more sense to me, that the keep would be on the higher cliff to defend the actual city. So I decided, well, if that's the case, then there will probably be more walls out here. And So I thought, let's extend the wall. So I'm going to do the same technique I did in my earlier video, where I'm just going to place my wall segments. You notice I'm leaving little gaps there. I'm going to put little watchtowers on top. I wanted my gatehouse to be a little bit, out a little bit. I like this little curve out here that I put here. One thing I also noticed is that my watchtowers that I had built before had the stairs going to the outside, which that doesn't seem very right, since the enemies could climb in from the watchtower. So I moved these watchtowers inward, and you'll see when I finish this wall, I'm going to go back to the other watchtowers I placed and reposition them so they look proper. And yeah, I just decided as I was going, to place a couple more of these gatehouses in realistic spots where they may have been placed for roads. I'm going to have to put some roads after the fact. And again, same thing here, just trying to make that wall. I like symmetry, but I also like it to look a little bit natural. And so I've just been, trying to have these little segments that extend out for the gatehouses maybe, but then also have, little regions like this where we might rotate or have an angle on the wall. Now, the other thing I did is I wanted to kind of build this wall as though it may have been built, earlier in the evolution of the city. I anticipate that I'm going to put parts of the city outside of this wall. Now that I haven't left myself a lot of room on the map to do that, but my belief is that the wall probably was built, maybe a few centuries ago, and the city has continued to grow after that around the wall. And again, to the south here on this side of the wall is the more friendly nation of Gerlir, so there's probably more extension of the city out in this direction, where there's not as much fear of being raided by the neighboring nation, whereas on the other side in Edan, that might not be as true. So here I am turning the towers around, as I mentioned. I finally realized, okay, these look silly. I'll move them around. I left the inside ones facing the inside, that's fine. But I wanted all the ones facing the outside. Now, again, I was going to put a university up here on the right. It's starting to look like the university is probably going to take up all of the right. And the rest of the north there is going to have to be dedicated to some noble lands. Well, that's all I developed for this video. Again, thanks for hanging out with me while I did some additions, and we'll see you again in that next tutorial.